Morning. As normal, we have a disclaimer before we talk multiple sclerosis and other things. So we will give you a disclaimer because that's what we do here. Before we start tonight's program, this is a reminder that this episode will address various topics related to mental health, addiction, and a reminder about multiple sclerosis. These may be sensitive to some of our viewers. Viewer discretion is advised. We remind you to please consult your doctor, your mental health professional, your outreach group, your sponsor, or specialist before adopting any change to your dietary, physical, and or mental health regime. If you're looking for options with respect to mental health, contact SAMHSA, the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration, at 1-800-662-HELP. It's 1-800-662-4357. Service is open 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year, and is a confidential free information service for individuals and family members facing such stressors. Importantly, if you're feeling suicidal crisis or emotional distress and need to be put in touch with a crisis center, call a suicide prevention lifeline at 1-800-273-TALK. It's 1-800-273-8255. Those resources are also available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. You can also text the word HOME to 741-741. Once again, HOME to 741-741. And then, I think very importantly, tonight, even though I don't have any answers, and we'll talk about that in a couple minutes, but this has been something that's been paramount in my mind for the last 10 months and, quite frankly, the last 10 years. And to have multiple sclerosis and demyelination. The National MS Society is a collective of passionate individuals who want to do something about MS now, to move together towards a world free of multiple sclerosis. Multiple sclerosis is comprised of unpredictable and often disabling flare-ups of the central nervous system. Such interruptions disrupt the flow of information within the brain and between the brain and the body. The National MS Society is the largest private funder of MS researchers in the world, investing more than $1 billion to date. MS stops people from moving, but the National MS Society exists to make sure that MS doesn't. To contact the National MS Society, please call 1-800-344-4867. Again, 1-800-344-4867. Or go to their website at nationalmssociety.org. Thank you to all of you who have donated money to this amazing organization, but also those of you that have taken the time to learn more about what I and over the 1 million people in this country that have multiple sclerosis go through by way of multiple sclerosis itself and demyelination. It's a story that I keep on learning day after day, and we'll talk more about that in mere minutes. I appreciate that. I appreciate all of you. And on that, let's begin. Tonight, I thought I was going to have a lot of answers as far as how the MRI went last week, and I still don't have them yet. So tonight we're going to talk about exactly what the next steps are, also concerns, and the prognosis going forward from at least what I saw. And again, I'm not a neurologist nor a doctor, but waiting for some feedback from doctors and whatnot to see where we go from here. If all works out, there will be another infusion in April. But we'll talk about all of that because this is the Venture Forward. Good evening once again, or good morning, or good afternoon, wherever you may be, and welcome to the Venture Forward. I am John Venturini, a recovering addict of overeating, obesity, alcoholism, and compulsive gambling, and it is an honor and pleasure to see all of you tonight on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. As I said in the open, I was expecting answers, and I did not get any answers yet, and that's okay, because we're going to talk about what transpired last week. We're going to talk about what I think I saw, again, not a neurologist, in the MRI, and talk about what the go forward is from here. Not only by way of ocrevus, but also the 7T MRIs that I've been taking. We'll talk about all of that in just mere minutes. But let's say hi to all of you, because we have... Who wins the door prize? We have Easy over on YouTube that says, "Come, Mr. Tellyman, tell me a banana. Daylight coming and I want to go home." I'm sure you sang it better than I just read it. So, good evening to you. Jamie on YouTube says, evening to you. Hope you're doing well. Marilyn on YouTube says, "Good evening, everyone." With 3 waves and 3 purple hearts. Good evening to you, Marilyn. Sarah over on Facebook says, "Hey, JV. Hey, Sarah. Hope you're doing well." Sue on YouTube says, "Good evening, everyone." Good evening to you, Sue. Glad to see you. Austin on YouTube says, "Hey, JV, Rex, and everyone in chat." Rex making a cameo tonight because right now, Rex needs to be here. Don't know why. He told me that. Take that for what you will. Gillyman on YouTube says, "Dr. Gilly's in the house." Dr. Gilly, we may need some answers from you tonight, so get ready. Get ready for me. Just be ready on the intake here. Ingy on YouTube says, "Listening whilst I cook." Hello, everyone. Hello to you, Ingy. I hope you're making an incredible, incredible dinner or whatever you're doing over there. And I'll put it up there. Austin celebrating 50 subscribers to his channel yesterday. Congratulations, Austin. You are coming a long way there, and I'm proud of you. Keep up the good work, man. Okay. And Easy with a very obvious comment. If you hear Rex talking to you, I'd be concerned. Given these days, Rex is probably talking to me. Just throwing that out there as well. And, of course, I bring up the wrong graphic. There we go. That's the right graphic. That's Ecamm being Ecamm. So where do we go? At the beginning, John, right? So last Thursday, I went for an MRI. 7T MRI. It's a 7T MRI and a very high-powered MRI. It's an MRI so powerful that you don't need to have contrast shut in your arm because the imagery that comes back is so strong that you don't need to do that. It is a longer exam. It takes about an hour to an hour and 15 minutes, but they get a really good image. I got a disc. I looked at the disc, but it wasn't in the same format as the other discs, so it'll be very hard to contrast and compare. I think everything's okay, but I will tell you that going into the day, there was a lot of things going on, where I was under a high level of stress. Always, when you're going for an infusion and an MRI in the same day, right? A lot of stuff happens. Things that have to do with bankruptcy, things that have to do with mortgages and stuff. All of this, if there was any day that this had to happen, it had to be on the 14th. That's what happened. So there was that too. But nevertheless, I did get the infusion that morning, and nevertheless, I went for a 7T MRI that afternoon. And I put in an email to my doctor seeing where he thought what the MRI looked like. I didn't think there was much of a problem, but I will be very open and honest with the most incredible people I know, this audience and my friends, that I think I might have been wearing rose-colored glasses a bit when I sent that email. And I'll tell you a story why I'm a little bit skeptical right now in about a minute or two. But nevertheless, looking at a couple of movies from the disc, the animation, it didn't look anything out of the ordinary. there was a flare enhancement of a certain portion of my brain that looked just as normal as everything else in the last three MRIs, last quarterly MRIs. So, sure, I don't think there's anything wrong there. I'll tell you where I'm concerned for, and I'll say this in a second, but I gotta acknowledge it. Gilly, congratulations on being sober and clean and accountable. 164 days. Congratulations, man. That's fantastic. Keep up the good work. Keep on doing the right thing, my friend. Um, so I went away last couple days, business, and I was on a call, and I was walking around. It was late in the day, and truthfully, I might have overdone it. I go see a hotel or a workout room in the gym, and I work out a lot, and I might have not had enough to eat that day. I think I was only at like 900 calories, and after working out 3 hours and whatnot, there's a lot there. Walking back and forth, I lost my balance. I didn't fall, but I got scared because when the demyelination took place back in 2011, before I went on ocrevus, before all of that, one of the things that were present as those sort of symptoms was loss of balance, feeling like, not only vertigo, but like, the earth is shaking. And there wasn't an earthquake in Western Ohio last time I checked, so there wasn't an earthquake. But that had me concerned a bit. And yeah, I let my neurologist know about this too. And like, I know I'm doing the right thing for someone who has relapsing remitting multiple sclerosis by taking ocrevus and whatnot. But between last night, but also waiting for some sort of guidance on where we are with the MRI, I'm a bit skeptical. And I kind of made a decision tonight not to show the video of the MRI because, one, I don't have anything that's like that for the last three MRIs, one. And two, if it's something to be concerned about, that my doctor gets back to me, I want to give it the right attention that it needs. And certainly I'm not going to do that until I talk to that office. But I also didn't want to go too long without talking about this. So we are talking about it. But I don't have, as the title of this episode is a waiting game because I still don't know. So let's talk timeline for a second. And we talked about this last week after I had the MRI and the infusion, but it's worth noting this again. Back in 2011, I had my first demyelinating event back in Connecticut. It was an event so strong that I had desensitization on the top of my head, optic freezing, some auditory problems, but also top of arm, top of my right hand side. That's when I went on ocrevus, Solu-Medrol for 5 days to try to take that down, and it worked. Over time, it worked, and I got back into some level of normalcy. 2012, there was a slight flare-up down in Baltimore that was taken care of with pill form Solu-Medrol. 2020, we go into November. I started finding symptoms again. 2021, New Year's Eve of 2020, I ended up going to Chester County Hospital because the symptoms were so bad after seeing my PCP that morning. January, after a subsequent MRI and a test, I got diagnosed with MS. That's where we are. Been on a study to do 7T MRIs back in January, also April, July, now October. There will be another 7T MRI this coming January, and then from there it's going to be every year for the 7T MRI. It's not a quarterly sort of test. The infusions, the ocrevus infusions, are twice a year. They're not 300 milligram doses like I got in late March, mid-April. What I had last week was a full 600 milligram dose, and as many of you know that I talked to offline, it took me down for the weekend. It was very strong. Nevertheless, I pushed through. So that's the timeline. Now, whatever the MRI comes back with, I assume that there isn't any sort of new symptomology that was resonant in the MRI. So I don't think that would be a thing. But I don't know. I'm only going off of things I saw off the disc that sort of looked like the last 3 sets of images, but then again, it's not like for like. Let me go back to main so you could see me. It's not like for like. So again, it's a waiting game, right? That's where we are. It's a waiting game. Sarah asks a really good question. And part of this is, I'm warning in advance before I even bring up the question. Part of my answer is going to be a bit of my past, but also trying to work through things. But you make a very good point, and let me bring up the question. Sarah says, why were you working out that much and not eating when you were already under stress? That is a really good question. It's a fantastic question. I require a lot more as far as what I eat now because I'm maintaining weight. I'm not losing weight. So that sort of 500 calorie down, 1,000 calorie down that we normally do when you're trying to lose weight, I'm not doing anymore. I'm going to my metabolism rate, my basal metabolism rate. So basically you do the formula, and on the most part, it's your metabolic rate in calories, and then you usually put some sort of multiplier in there based on how active you are. So my BMR is around 2,900 calories now. That's what I'm eating to, especially given the fact that I do 10,000 steps every day, and given the fact that I do strength train 3 times a week. I require that much to keep this weight, 180. So you make a really good point. I should be eating a lot more. It's a little more difficult when you're on the road to be eating that much, especially when you have other things that are going on. That, again, new world, because last 20 months I haven't been traveling. Now I am. So it's something that I have to keep in the back of my mind. It's a very good question, very good point. And going forward, something I have to keep an eye on, because it could be one of 2 things. I don't have a graphic for this, so we're just going to talk about it. 1, it could really be demyelination, MS related, or 2, I'll throw it out there, it could be low blood sugar. It could very well be low blood sugar. So who knows what that was, but it's something for me to keep an eye on, and it's something I definitely let my neurologist know, and my bad, I didn't let my PCP know, but it's all epic, they could see it. So we'll see where we go from there. If I'm talking like I'm a little concerned right now, I am a little bit. I'm a little bit concerned. There's a little bit of concern in me. Don't know exactly from what or from where, but I'm feeling it. And again, it could just be nerves. It could really just be nerves. But I am being 100% transparent and honest. I'm a little bit nervous. And watch, you'll find in a day or two, I get an email from my neuro, everything's fine, and then it's fine. But I'd be lying if I wasn't saying that I'm a bit nervous right now. I am. Some comments. Ingy says, JV, I'm in awe of everything you've been through. I'm so proud of you. Thank you, Ingy. I appreciate that. And she makes a very good comment. Hydrate. Yeah, I've been trying to hydrate as much as I can. Even though I wasn't there calorically, I was drinking a lot of water when I was on the road. So, thank you. Gilly says, true healing is realizing you were never sick in the first place because you're a beautiful human being just the way you are always. Gilly, thank you. I needed to see that, man. Thank you. That was really awesome. Thank you, man. Sarah says I get like that when my blood sugar is low. Yeah. I'm getting the sense that it might be a case of blood sugar. We will see over time. Today, calorically, I'm right where I'm supposed to be from that perspective. I'm like 2,400, 2,500 right now, and I don't feel the same way I did Wednesday night. So we're in a much better place right now, even though I don't have any results yet. I don't have anything to share with you as far as MRIs and that sort of guidance. When I get that sort of feedback back, we will do a well bona fide version of this episode. But right now, I wanted to talk about the waiting and what else is going on with that. Sarah says yes, hydrating and coffee isn't hydrating. No, no, there's plenty of water. And I had plenty of water yesterday. Did I have coffee? Yeah, of course. I need coffee. That's, yeah. John can't go out with his Americano every now and then. But yeah, I definitely had plenty of water yesterday. Um, Angie says traveling takes a lot out of a person. Yeah, yeah, it does. It doesn't have to be long distances either. It does, especially when you're used to one way and now things are a little bit different now and you are traveling, which is great. I'm really glad to be traveling, but I forgot that there is a different way I have to do this now that I couldn't do before, right? Not to say that doing it when you're 480 pounds was a better place, far from it, but it was a different place. So 480 versus 180, so on and so forth. Sarah says it's natural to be anxious. It's how you manage it. That's the thing. Yeah, I have to calm down. I really have to calm down. And even then, when we have fear about the future, that's anxiety. When we have fear or angst about the past, that's depression. So it's definitely a little bit of anxiety. But I'm better now that I don't feel like I'm tipping over. So for whatever that is, it certainly does put me in a better mindset. But you're absolutely right, Sarah. Sue says, not knowing, you're doing well to talk about it all. Yeah, there's no other thing for me to do but then to talk about it. I had this earmarked as an episode to talk about the results of the MRI. So we're talking about the MRI. It's just don't have the results of it like I did in quarters past. Easy says, traveling and living in our heads can be exhausting. Yeah, especially when there's 900 things that are going on upstairs. Truth be told, that's the case. And I think it also is a question of how we manage these things, which I try to stay on top of, but truth be told, I'm not. There are days where I'm not, and I'm not going to call any specific event, but certainly losing a dear member of this audience was one thing, but then to see another member of your family have the same sickness is a bit wrenching. Now, truth be told, I do keep in touch with them every day. They're doing fine. Thank God, knock on wood, they're doing fine. But again, it's something where that's going on, and a lot of other things are going on, and it's trying to manage all these things. We could step up and manage, or we can let it get to the best of us. Hopefully what happened yesterday with the loss of balance for a mere 30 seconds to a minute, hopefully that's an anomaly and not anything to see going forward. And certainly eating enough and hydrating would definitely be in my best course going forward. Definitely hydrating, still hydrating, but making sure I'm eating calorically what I need to. Easy says as well, going into the mind is like going down bad neighborhoods unsupervised. Yeah, you're right. It's actually going into a place where you're in a neighborhood or in an environment where is not secure for you. Is many bad situations, bad places, bad actors, whatever sort of analogy you want to do there. Yeah, you're absolutely right, Easy. And the thing is, we do one of two things. One, we protect ourselves, or we try to avoid it at all costs if we find that it's going to be something that is completely impossible to get through. Either way, we have to do something in advance of that to be fully cognizant of that. So, without a doubt. Jamie says you are still managing incredibly. We're all human. Yeah, we are human. We're not robots. We're not automatons. We are human beings. We make mistakes. We make flaws. And I think that's the most attractive thing about us all is the fact that we learn through our mistakes, but our mistakes gives us the most largest amount of character. So yeah, we are only human for sure. The go forward with, I alluded to it. And I'll go back to the graphic. where we are with the 7T MRI is I had the baseline back in January, had a 3 month in April, had a 6 month in July, and then I had the 9 month in October. There will be a 1 year version next January, and then from there it's going to be annual because that's how the study works. Um, Done by the incredible people at Perelman Center at University of Pennsylvania. Great staff, great set of research assistants, great set of doctors. I am very thankful for them. Very thankful for the treatment and the course that they're putting me down and everything. I'm just overly blessed. If it wasn't for them, I don't think I'd be anywhere near having a conversation about this. So thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Um, so that's what the study is. When we talk about ocrevus, it's a medication that's taken twice a year, 600 milligrams twice a year. Now, when you get your first dose, it's done as 2 half infusions, 300 milligrams apiece, given 2 weeks apart. Um, Specifically, it's a disease-modifying treatment that targets the CD20 marker of your B cells. So it is a bit of a disease-modifying treatment. Some people say, hey, it's like chemo. Well, it's not like chemo per se in the sense that it's like beta sterin, but it does target a specific portion of your immune system. And because multiple sclerosis and demyelination is looked upon as an autoimmune disorder, an autoimmune disease, ocrevus does exactly that. It kills the thing that is going against our body, and that is the CD20 marker of our B cells. And the thing is, you talk to many people who have MS, they have MS affecting them differently because it's based on where the lesions pop up along the brain and the central nervous system. With me, it definitely resonated around the optic freezing, but also sensation, top of arm, down the right-hand side. You ask 5 people that have MS, they'll have all different symptomology. It's based on where the lesions are. So it does not treat everybody the same way, from not even close, right? It's very much an individualistic disease. And you talk about the various things we deal with MS and demyelination: visual disturbances, mental changes, loss of sensation, depression, muscle spasms, limb weakness, bladder and bowel dysfunction. I think I alluded to this last Thursday. I fortunately did not have problems with bladder and bowel dysfunction, but as far as sensation, skin sensation, yes. Visual disturbances, optic freezing, yes. Depression, sometimes. Uncontrollable weeping, sometimes. Mental changes and brain fog, sometimes. This happens. This happens to people who have MS. It affects us in different ways. And certainly, you could see that there. So, I guess the go forward here then is we'll see where my neurologist says he thinks the MRI is. He thinks the one thing we look for, MRI on MRI, MRI over MRI, is that there are no changes. There are no such things as remyelinating agents. So we're not expecting any sort of decrease in the number of lesions. That's not possible. But we're hoping to see an image where we don't see no new lesions, no further degradation. Moreover, any sort of lesions that are up there are muted in color because they're not active. That's what we're looking for. Whether or not we see that, I'm going to wait for my neurologist to get back to me to tell me that. That's just being, one, for my own sanity, but two, fair from telling this story, because I don't want to say, hey, everything's honky-dory, and then all of a sudden realizing, oh, it's not. So that's why we're not saying anything right now. We're going to do this the right way, and we're going to let the doctors get back to us exactly in what they saw. Some comments as I was talking about all this. Sue says we're here for you. Thank you, Sue. I appreciate that. Likewise for all of you. I'm here for all of you. I love this group. You are my friends. You are my family. I am very much appreciative of all of you. Very much so. Uh, of course, Ingy heard Human by Human League on the way home, and then we're talking about being human and how this is just a way that we are human and one way to remind us that we're human. It's a great song. Big fan of that song. Matt Haas, co-host of VF Talks, that airs Friday nights at 6:30 Eastern, 3:30 Pacific. Shameless plug. Over on Facebook says, hey Matt, how are you? Hope you're doing well. And then Jamie says that song plays where I work every day. So it's a song that's in all of our heads. How old is that song? At least 30 years old, I think. It's a great song. Jamie says MS is some scary stuff. You're so strong, Jamie. I try. One day at a time, right? And not all the days are going to be winners, but I'm definitely trying to put my best foot forward. Angie says, I am thankful to be educated on all this. I'm very thankful to be sharing all of this with you. And to show you what MS is to someone who is dealing with it by way of demyelination back in 2011, but also fighting it with a full-blown diagnosis of multiple sclerosis. And Jamie says, me too, Ingy. It's good to understand and hear personal experiences with it. Well, I want to tell my story. And, you know, when we started the show back in October of last year, I had more than enough information to talk about with respect to, you know, the weight loss and the sobriety and the compulsive gambling. And then later on, we started talking about co-addiction and codependency. And we talked about bankruptcy. And we talked about all of that. And as I go down that road, it's funny how life shows you things that you didn't recognize. And people would look at it from a high level and say, you know, John, that's a weakness. That's the thing that's going to stop you. And I say, au contraire. This is just another thing for me to rise through because I know I'm strong enough to rise through it. When I deal with a situation where I would like to know more about it, that's just me being anxious. We all have anxiety. It's how we treat anxiety. It's how we take care of that sort of thinking. But I know I'm strong enough. You know, I was away on business. I put in 20,000 steps on Wednesday. No joke. Yeah, I'm definitely committed to me. I'm definitely committed to this venture forward to living the best healthy life I can because I neglected myself for a very long time. I don't do that anymore. I just don't. Gilly says Matt Haas may be human, but he works for home. Dune reference. That's a good guy. So are you, Gilly. So here is what we're going to do. One more comment over here. Oh, Jamie. 20,000 is a lot of steps. I used to get 16,000 waiting tables for 8 hours, so I was moving. Yeah, 20,000 steps ends up being about, according to my Apple Watch, about 10.5 miles. So, yeah, I did a lot of walking yesterday. You wonder why I was maybe a bit lightheaded and not eating enough and doing all that after, yeah, that's a good sign. Or definitely a good indicator, I would say. Never a good sign. I shouldn't be woozy. Far from it, but yeah, anyhow. Here is what we're doing with the show tomorrow, next week. Tomorrow, we're going to do what we do on Fridays. We're going to have a conversation about anything and everything with Matt Haas. Commenter Matt Haas. Great job commenting, Matt. And also Paul Burke and all of you in this wonderful VF Talks Venture Forward community. Tomorrow night, 6:30 Eastern, 3:30 Pacific. Next week, and I don't have this on the graphic yet, but we're going to go back talking about mental health. And we're going to talk about what we need to be cognizant of when we look for a mental health therapy or a mental health sort of system of program that will best work for us. So next week is going to be related to that. We'll also talk about the things that I've learned over not only the last 2.5 years, but wow, I mean, I've been on and off with therapy for a long time. So there are things that I've learned and things that have been very abundantly clear now, especially fighting what I'm fighting, but also trying to live the best life I can. And then, of course, next Friday we'll have another VF Talks. So two shows, Tuesdays and Thursdays, 8 o'clock Eastern, 5 o'clock Pacific. And then VF Talks on Fridays at 6:30 Eastern, 3:30 Pacific. Some more comments. Jamie says Matt Haas or Hat Mass, if you will. Yeah. I'm sure he'll have an opinion on it too. Sue has some exciting news to share with us tomorrow on VF Talks. Sue, I can't wait to hear about that. And I can't wait to do VF Talks with all of you tomorrow night, 6:30. We got some smiley faces. This is good. So, that said, that is the... and JB says, no, Hat Moss. Okay, there you go. Right. So, that's the game plan. So, I will say I will say this first. I'll see you tomorrow night, 6:30 Eastern, 3:30 Pacific. But until then, I'm going to say the same thing at the end of every venture forward in VF Talks. Stay safe, stay sane, stay strong, stay sober. You're worth it. I'll see you tomorrow night at 6:30 Eastern, 3:30 Pacific for VF Talks. Have a wonderful night. Fly be free.